Welcome to our latest edition of Sounds of Solidarity. Dan Gelbtuch back, co-director of philanthropy at Episcopal City Mission. I am so excited to be here today with my co-director, Neha, and we're going to talk a little bit about the background of finding our way home. We've had a chance to interview some grantees and different community leaders who have been integrating spirituality and justice into their work, but we thought it would be exciting to take a step back and actually look at where did the project come from, what inspired it. And so really excited to be in dialogue with Neha. So Neha, if you want to introduce yourself and maybe start by just saying, what does finding our way home mean to you personally?
Thank you, Dan. So nice to be here. I've absolutely enjoyed all the conversations you've had with our grantees and other partners. And so today I get to be part of that. This is really exciting. I am a co-director at ECM with Dan, and I joined ECM 5 years ago, where Dan was already thinking about this project, and there was some work already being done. And I had the honor of being invited to work on this, to shape this with Dan and rest of other folks who have been in our Wisdom Council. And so, yeah, really excited. Um, what does finding our way home mean in terms of the finding our way home, the title? We've done a lot of back and forth around how that is ever changing answer. And for me right now, I am leaning into this, I guess, like a spiritual belief of how um, we are all trying to go back to our divinity. I personally really believe that my spiritual beliefs are based in a lot of Sanatana Dharma philosophies, also sometimes known as Hinduism, but how like we're all part of, or we're all divine beings, but we're in this world role playing as different many things. We're a manifestation of like this divine being, and so our purpose in this life is to slowly start going back to that divinity, unlearning traumas, right? Like just being more healthy and ultimately getting to that place of divinity, basically remembering where we come from and who we are. And so the term finding our way home finding our way home to me means that we're trying to find our way back to that. And it's still a very scattered thought, but yeah,
No, it's great.
that's what I'm sitting with right now.
Thanks, Neha. Yeah, I really relate to that. Kind of looking at it from my own core identities as a Jewish person, as a white person, and the ways that I've really struggled to find belonging in general, to find belonging in the movements that I've been connected to, and what does it mean for me to find my way home? What does home mean? How can I find a place where I'm grounded, a place where I feel a genuine belonging, a place where I can bring my full self, a place where I can make mistakes and learn from mistakes, and where I'm held in community. And I think that was one of the reasons, just my own journey there, my own spiritual and emotional journey and life journey is what inspired the name of the grant making program. And definitely I can see from a lot of the different organizations and movements that I've been part of in Massachusetts for almost 20 years now, that it's not just me, that a lot of people are sort of struggling to figure out, what is my place in this movement? Is this my home? Is this my political home? Can this be my spiritual home, my communal home? And how can we make movements actually feel like that, so people can feel rooted and can be more powerful in movements?
I really want to underscore that we mean a lot of things when we say home, but we're not necessarily talking about country or nation or statehood, right? And so I think I've had a couple of people come to me with that question, what does it mean for folks who don't have access to homelands? And that's not what we're meaning by this. It could, if that's what, resonates with you, that's for you to decide. But how we are approaching this is, whatever feels like home to you, that place of Dan's favorite word, belonging, divinity, all of that.
That's beautiful, Neha. Could you share a little bit about why this project? Why do you want to start this project? Why is this project important to you?
Yeah, I think about my grandparents a lot, how they spent most of their life as revolutionaries back in Nepal. They were, yeah, founded the socialist movement back home, and were really all about, the just movement work. And then, and then I remember how the ending, their last years were actually very opposite. And I just remember them being so bitter, feeling so bitter, so much of regret and just this like hopelessness. um and even the choices they made, I feel like were opposite of who they were before that bitterness really took over them. And I feel like I got to witness what things can be if you don't pay attention to spiritual health while being in movement. Like I got firsthand experience of that. And so for me, it's been a little like lesson that I got to grow up with. And so me also trying to be in the same shoes in terms of being part of the movement, I am very aware that I need something deep. I need something strong to ground myself in. Otherwise, I'm gonna also, because this is a tough thing to do, right? This is a very tough place to be. It's a tough thing to do. And so I feel like I personally need something higher than myself, higher than what I see, to kind of like anchor me. And yeah, so I really believe in it is I guess my answer. I just really believe in the significance, not just importance, but necessity of this in our movement work. And so, when I saw this like thing that you were trying to create, and it was just a perfect alignment because, yeah, it's not always that you get to work in something that you're so passionate about personally at your workplace, right? So it's just been a very, very fortunate thing for me personally to, have this passion in my personal life and then be able to do this professionally in my work with you.
That's great, Neha. Yeah, I really relate to that. Yeah, in maybe like a similar way. I mean, obviously, also a very different way than your grandparents, but similar themes of coming into this work, movement work, organizing work, and just being so obsessed with like the tangible, and just saying that was all that mattered, right? It was just a matter of as you know, I did youth organizing for a decade. It was just a matter of how many teens could we get to the rally, or could we get this meeting with the mayor or the governor, or how much funding could we win in the budget, and which is great, which is like so important. But I started to really feel the limits of that. I started to really feel like the world is really broken, is so fundamentally broken, and that was just not going to be enough to sustain me in this
Mm,
work. It didn't matter, right? We could have won 10 times as much money for youth jobs, but it was still, first of all, just wasn't going to solve the problem, which is the ways that structural racism and capitalism lead to really bad outcomes for young people of color in Boston and around the
mm,
country. But on a spiritual level, there was just like an emptiness, and
mm,
that caused me to act in ways that were negative. That I just sort of overemphasized the importance of that, and so it would cause me to fight with people because I would be so important to this or that uh,
mm,
specific aspect of the organizing, and it just sort of took me to see, what is this doing to my values? What is this doing to my relationships? This is not why I got in the work. Like, I had this sense of like why I got into this work. And it wasn't to fight with people or to be so obsessed with these like small details. And that really helped me understand, okay, there is something spiritual happening
mm,
here. How can I lean into that? And
mm,
I was always interested in spirituality, and I had
mm,
a meditation practice, and I grew up Jewish, but they were quite separate. And so it's sort of how I was able to, through different experiences, kind of start to build a bridge, which I think is what we're trying to do here, because I think that a lot of folks on the ground doing movement work don't necessarily have um, access to these
mm.
spiritual healing resources. And so I'm just really, really proud of um, that and our ability to provide those resources.
Mm, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and finally, um, looking at what we've done and looking
Mm.
forward, yeah, what's been meaningful so far? What is your vision for this work over the next, years? How do you sort of see it today?
Yeah, apart from just resourcing folks on the front line with, yeah, with, funding, and relationships, um, that would enable them to do this. I also really want to organize more in terms of convincing other folks with resources and power and privilege, like making folks understand the importance of this. Something that I am learning more as I grow older is the more I am open to my spirituality, the more I lean to that, the more radical I feel about my politics. So for me, there's been this like organic merging of my politics and my love for the divine. Um, and so that's there, but I also understand that that's not what mostly institutions and people who run these big institutions feel, right? And so I'm trying to figure out how can we do the job of translating this thing that I feel so deeply in ways and in languages that can be digestible to people who are maybe not there yet or who choose not to be there. Like, how do we still share this message so that first they move resources, but also for them, think about this for themselves because I mean liberation is for everybody, right? And so I guess like the philanthropy word or term to say what I'm saying is just field building. Field building is what I'm hoping for, but also prioritizing the grassroots grantees we have, BIPOC folks, so many of whom have lost their traditional faith traditions and spiritual um, lineages because of colonization, because of white supremacy, and so Christian colonization, all of that. Like, how do we prioritize folks on the front line who come from those backgrounds and say, hey, like, here's a resource for you to tap into that because we personally believe how important this could be for you and for our movement in general. So yeah, more so in short, more resources for folks on the front line and more field building.
That's wonderful, Neha. I really resonate with all of that. And yeah, I'm so proud that we're really out there providing these resources because they're hard to come by, as you
Mhm,
know. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of funders that are really, deeply invested in
mhm,
the spiritual and emotional health of their grantees. And so I'm just so proud of us, of ECM, of finding our way home to really look at this, especially
mhm,
now. I mean, man,
mhm.
what an absolutely overwhelming time to
Yeah.
organize. And the fact and we're seeing it. We're seeing it. Grantees are coming to us, because they know that we care about them deeply. And
Mhm,
I'm just so honored, to be able to play
mhm,
that role with the grantees, to play that support role, to really get to know them and to get to know
mhm,
challenges are, and then not always, but at least sometimes, to be able to provide some resources that can
mhm,
support them. And yeah, and I agree. I feel really passionate about this too, and really excited to continue to build this with you and with the Wisdom Council, and to really think about, yeah, how do we bring more funders into this movement? How do we bring more grassroots leaders into this movement to really center healing and center care, and make our movements healthier and more vibrant.
yeah,
Well,
and
please.
there's something also very beautiful about doing this work um, from and at a Christian organization, right? There's
Mm,
something very reparative
yes,
about being
yes,
able to do this,
yes,
as like an
yes.
organization with a history of being part of erasure and yeah, erasure
Yep.
of like so many of these faith traditions to now being able to be like, actually, we want to nourish that or we want to support you as you reconnect to that. It's just a beautiful thing to be able to do, I think. I'm really proud of ECM in general for being open to do this and for, yeah, continuing to support this.
Very moving, very moving. Yeah, thanks for naming that part. Well, we are just about out of time. So any last words that you want to leave people with before we go?
Yeah, I like love talking about these things, and I also want folks to know that this is a work in progress, because we don't see a lot of models that we can repeat this. We're creating this from the scratch with so many folks with us who are helping us shape this. But I just like really welcome folks who are just interested in these conversations. Like I can go forever talking about
Mm.
this because there's so much of learning and unlearning that I myself have to do around this topic. So yeah, last word would be just welcoming folks who are interested in sitting with this and like figuring this out, shaping this, all of that.
Absolutely. Please join us in this journey. Thank you, Neha. This was wonderful as always. This is Sounds of Solidarity. Please keep listening and be well.
Bye.